Okay, the second lesson in our unit on functions is to be able to compare functions. Now that we know what a function looks like and what it has in it, this section again is going to help you compare. And typically what we do is we look at the slope or the rate of change to be able to tell what we know about the function. So remember, slope is a rate that describes how one quantity changes compared to another quantity. So there's a couple different ways for us to find rate of change or slope. The first way is if we have an equation, it needs to be in the form y equals mx plus b. So you guys should remember using this format back when we did graphing. And the m in the formula, remember, is always your slope or your rate of change. We're going to also talk about the y-intercept in our formula, the b value. The b value is your initial value for whatever you're talking about. We'll specifically look at initial value a little bit more later, and today we're just going to focus on that slope mainly. So given the first example, we have the equation y equals 2x plus 5, okay, and if we take the formula y equals mx plus b, we can see that we already have our equation in the format y equals, we've got something in front of x plus something else, and specifically what we're looking at here is our slope. Our slope of 2 is what we pay attention to when we're comparing fractions. So my slope or my m value is 2. If I want to talk about the b value or the y-intercept, we can write that information down here. The y-intercept is your b value, which is positive 5 in this case. So we'll be talking again a little bit more about y-intercepts or initial values, but mostly we're going to compare slopes. So I want to compare this function here for part A with this function over here. The problem with this function is it does not have the format that we want it to have. Y equals mx plus b is a format. If we wanted to graph these equations, we could. But we don't want to be able, or we can't graph this right away because of the way it's all messed up. So we need to find out, if we can remember, we use kind of the locker idea to solve this equation for y equals. So the first thing we do remember is we move the x term, which happens to be a positive 3x. So we're going to subtract that away. It means it's gone from this side, but we still have a negative 4y. And we still have the negative 3x and the 12. We cannot combine plain numbers with x's, remember? And then what we have to do still, I think I'm going to try to use a green pen so this shows up a little better. What we still have to do is something with that negative 4. We want the equation to say plain old y equals, and we still have a negative 4 that's attached by multiplying. So what you need to do is divide not just one term by the negative 4, we need to divide all of our terms. So negative divided by negative, remember, is a positive. We'll leave that as a fraction because it's easier to work with slopes that are fraction. This initial value here is going to reduce to negative 3. 12 divided by negative 4 is negative 3. So guys, now we have the format that we wanted, and we can pick out our slope, we can pick out our y-intercept value. And then typically when you're working with a question about rate of change and how we have to compare these two functions is now that you'll look and see, hey, this one has a greater slope. Okay, your rising is going to be up 2 boxes and over 1. This rise is 3 boxes, but because you're running 4 boxes, it actually ends up with a line that wouldn't be as steep as this one. So we say this has a greater rate of change. Sometimes they'll ask you for which function has a smaller rate of change. In that case, this one has the smaller rate of change because, again, rate of change is comparing their slopes. Now, we don't always get slope from an equation. Sometimes we have to calculate our slope using a table of values. So I think you might remember this formula when we looked at it in the past in our graphing unit. In order to find slope, we take our 2 points, we find the change in y, and we divide it by the change in x. So if you remember, what we did is we took our 2 points and we kind of named them. Hey, this is x1, y1, my first point, and this is x2, y2. That's my second point. Formula, okay, you can write it down first and then plug into it, or you can plug into it right away if you feel comfortable. My y2 value is 8, and I'm subtracting my y1 value. Notice I've got a subtraction sign and the negative 2. That's very important. My x2 is 4. I'm subtracting my x1 value. When we reduce, remember, subtracting a negative is the same thing as adding a positive. So this really gives me a 10 on top, and it gives me a 1 on the bottom. So the slope of the line connecting these 2 points is 10. It's pretty large. For this point, remember, label your points. This is my first point, x1, y1. My second point, x2, y2. And I think this time I'll go right to the numbers. I've got to have my y2 minus my y1. I've got to have my x2 minus my x1. And I think this time we can reduce a little more. I've got 9 on the top, I've got negative 3 on the bottom, so I have a slope that is negative. We definitely have a steeper slope for this example. My slope is 10, which means rise 10, run 1. This slope has you going down 3/1, so it's not quite as steep. Okay, numerically, this one is definitely the larger slope, if we were comparing. Now, you not only need to be able to look at equations and look at the slope between 2 points, you need to be able to look at the slope that comes to you in a table. So, if you think back, we had looked at tables before, and what we did is we looked at the pattern of the change in the y values, and then we looked at the pattern for the change in the x values. So here's what we used. We had that symbol for delta, that means change in y, over delta x, change in x. So the way we looked for change, remember, is we kind of decided that this column would be our x's and this would be our y's. This one can be our x's and this can be our y's, okay? But basically you're looking to see, do we have a constant change between our y values? This looks like it increased by 6, then it increased by 6 again, and it increased by 6 again. So we are confident that the change in my y values is 6. And then we look over here to see what happened when we looked at just our x's, and it looks like it went up by 2 each time. So to reduce that fraction, we have 6 divided by 2 is a slope of 3. For this table, it's just horizontal, so we have to make sure we're comparing our y values. It looks like our y values go up by 8 each time, and it's consistent. And it looks like our x values go up by 2 again each time. So if we see the change in x, or excuse me, change in y over change in x, you would just divide that out and see what the slope is. So it turns out this one is a little bit larger rate of change, which is 4, than this one. So again, it's slope or rate of change that you're comparing between your two functions. Even if they give you the data in a table, we can still find slope or rate of change and compare. Now lastly, we have to be able to look at our graph, and I think this is probably our favorite thing to do. When you're looking at a graph, you can draw your slope triangle, and remember we're comparing the rise over the run when we do our slope triangle. So guys, the hardest thing about a slope triangle is, I don't know if I can zoom this in at all, but if we had a slope triangle, the biggest thing is if you get rid of that stuff on the graph. If you can find two really good points that cross the grid lines. I think this first really good point is right here, and then see how these are kind of in the middle of nowhere until we get here? I think those 2 points are really good points that we should use to draw our slope triangle. So if you connect your 2 points, remember you're going to go up and over, and then what you're going to do is very carefully you're going to look to see how far did you rise and how far did you run to create that triangle. It looks like we just went up 1 unit according to the scale, and we went over 4 units according to the scale. It's still 1 box per unit. So we have a slope of 1 over 4. Okay, it's not a very steep line, so that's why it's a small slope. But guys, look at this one carefully. Okay, our scale is very different on the bottom where we're looking at distance, and it's really different when we look at the amount of money raised when we look at the y-axis. So guys, we're still going to draw a slope triangle, and we're still going to count boxes, but we have to pay attention to that scale. So I think they were a little bit nicer to us on this one. We have a point here and we have a point here. So when you go to draw your slope triangle, it looks like our slope is rise 3, run 2. But guys, these 3 boxes don't represent just 3 units, okay? They represent the amount of money raised. And the scale, if we look carefully, in order to get here to 10, it means every box really represents $5. So if we start here with our first point, we're actually going up $5, $10. We're going up $15 for our rise. And then looking at the scale on the bottom, if this represents 2 miles, then when we start here, actually each box does represent 1 on the bottom. So we have 2 boxes getting to 2, 2 more boxes getting to 4. So 2 boxes does represent 2 miles. Okay, and we can write our scale like that, or what we can do is we can reduce this fraction. Okay, if you had $15 for 2 miles, divide that out, and I believe you get $7.50 per mile. It's more of a unit rate that we can look at for our slope, and it's a little bit easier to compare 2 numbers. What's going to be larger this time is obviously this rate right here. $7.50 per mile is much larger than a rise over run of 1/4. Of course, we're comparing slightly different things, but still, I wanted you to get practice doing your slope triangles and realizing that slope can still help us compare functions, because each function has a specific rate of change that we're interested in.